You cannot stay outside the UK for too long. Remember, this visa was given to you to work, not to travel and stay outside the UK. If you plan to apply for ILR or indefinite leave to remain, avoid spending more than 180 days outside the UK in any 12 months. This could affect your eligibility to apply for indefinite leave to remain, and of course, it will affect your settlement and everything. Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Vivian. I talk about life abroad, life in the UK, visa challenges, issue with securing a visitor visa or a student visa. I talk about a wide variety of things. I also talk about racism and discrimination and a lot more. So in this video, I'm going to talk something that relates to COS, which is Certificate of Sponsorship, which relates to Tier 2 visas. So why I came about this video is recently I was working with a colleague of mine, and he said his wife has got sponsorship from a care company and she cannot sponsor him. However, he is looking for his own sponsorship, which is with the new laws, I don't understand. This is a bit weird. Okay, the wife with the children, they're on her visa, but the husband is now looking for a sponsorship somewhere. So I asked him, I said, that means once you get this sponsorship, does it mean you're not going to be lecturing again? And he said, no, that this is not the case. Previously, I've heard about not being able to work in a non-related job, okay, that offered you COS in a non-related, business sector. So let's say you got your COS in care. Every other work you can do, although with restriction, will be related to healthcare. So that is completely not true. So this guy actually made me to, to reimagine this. And then I realized that this is not true. So I went on to do my research, and this research is what I'm going to present to you today. So a bit of disclaimer for this video. I'm not an immigration advisor. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a solicitor. Please, if you need to speak to a lawyer about immigration issues, you need to get an immigration lawyer. And all I'm telling you on this video is based on personal research. I've looked on the government website. I read things myself, and this is what I'm also going to be showing you in this video. I do not have any legal rights to give any advice to anyone. Okay, so please try to do your research before making a decision with regard to this topic that I'm talking about today. So if you're on a UK skilled visa or you're planning to apply, before you make any mistake that will put your visa application or your current visa, a Tier 2 visa, at risk, you need to listen to the do's and don'ts. The do's and don'ts of a Tier 2 visa holder. These are what I'm going to discuss about in this video. So why I'm kind of making it broader than my discussion with my colleague is, recently I was talking with one of my friends, and she said that she's not allowed to do a business. She's on Tier 2 visa. And I was wondering, previously, I know that as a student, you're not allowed to do a business, but your dependent can do a business. So I was telling her, I said, why don't you then register on your husband's details? But I wasn't quite sure whether she can do a business or not. So in this video, I'm going to break down exactly what you can do and what you cannot do with a Tier 2 visa. So this video is specifically for COS holders, those that have certificate of sponsorship from an employer. This is also known as skilled worker visa or Tier 2 visa. Once you are on a Tier 2 visa, it means that you are going to be working for an employer. Okay, that's the reason they have given you the visa. The visa is for you to work for your employer, okay, the employer who has sponsored you, and you are tied to that employer. You must only work on the job role stated on your COS or your certificate of sponsorship. Okay, what this means is that if you are being sponsored as a healthcare assistant, that is the job role you are going to work on. Okay, you cannot, even if it is in the same company, go on to become an admin. Okay, that's my understanding about it. You must work only on that job role. Okay, I hope this one is clear. In terms of taking a second job, this is where it gets interesting. You can take a second job, but it's with restrictions. You can take a supplementary work. Okay, supplementary means that you are only allowed to work 20 hours a week on your supplementary work. This must either be in the same profession or any job that meets the criteria or eligibility on the shortage occupation list. So you are entitled to work 20 hours per week for additional job for a job in your area, okay, or your profession. So if you're a healthcare assistant, you can take up additional work in that setting, or you can do any other job that is on the shortage occupation list, okay, that meets the criteria. So I'm going to show you this list on the government website. You can study, okay, with conditions. You can study while on this visa, but your study must not interfere with your work. Okay, I hope that is clear. It must not interfere with your main job. Remember, you are being sponsored to work and not sponsored to study. However, you can study, but let it not interfere with your work. And even when you decide to study, you may need a permission from your employer. Okay, your main employer, the person, the company sponsoring you. You may need a permission from your employer. You can travel in and out of the UK freely as long as your visa remains valid. However, be aware of extended absences. So during the time you want to apply for your ILR or indefinite leave to remain, this may come into play. So even when you travel, be mindful of extended absences, okay? You can bring dependents to the UK. This depends, okay? I know that a lot of people are going to flag this. This depends. So if you're eligible to bring a dependent to the UK or to apply for a dependent to stay with you in the UK, I'm going to show you on the website. Recently, I also read that people in the healthcare sector, like the case of my friend, cannot apply for a dependent to stay in the UK. And this started since, I think, March last year. For those of you in the healthcare sector, okay? But other people, other sectors, I think they're able to bring dependents, all right? So I will also show you this. Your dependents, if you're eligible to bring dependents, okay, your dependents can stay and work in the UK without restriction, which is also a great benefit to your family if you think about it. You can apply for ILR or indefinite leave to remain after 5 years continuous stay in the UK. So if you have continuously lived in the UK, if you've worked in the UK for 5 years, you may be eligible to apply for ILR, which is indefinite leave to remain, and this allows you to stay in the UK indefinitely or permanently, okay? So let's talk about what you cannot do. Work for an employer without a new visa. So you cannot work for a different employer unless you applied for a new skilled worker visa. This is not about additional work. This is like main job, okay? So this is like a new sponsor. So you cannot work for a new sponsor without actually, for full time, without actually applying for another sponsorship visa. This is another place where it gets interesting. You cannot become self-employed or start a business. Please be mindful of this. Okay, why I'm saying this? Because during the time of application, a lot of things, a lot of queries, a lot of questions do come up. So you cannot register a business. You cannot work as a freelancer or be self-employed while on this visa. Okay, you cannot do this. However, if you have a dependent, my advice is check the eligibility of the dependent visa. I think the dependents are allowed to do a business. So, but you as the main person cannot, do any business in the UK. You cannot claim any benefits whatsoever. You cannot claim housing benefits. You cannot claim child benefits. You are not allowed to claim universal credit. And all of the benefits, you cannot claim those. Of course, your visa would have, stated that very clearly already. You cannot overstay your visa expiry dates, okay? You cannot overstay. Once your visa expires or just when it's about to expire, you must extend it, okay? Don't wait for it to expire. Once it's about to expire, you must extend it. Switch to another visa type or leave the UK. Overstaying can lead to serious consequences. I did a video about overstaying. I'll link the video up there. I did a video about overstaying and the consequences it can have. So this also includes ban on re-entry, lots of issues with NHS, hospital treatment, benefits, life in the UK in general will become miserable. So please try not to overstay. You cannot stay outside the UK for too long. Remember, this visa was given to you to work, not to travel and stay outside the UK. So you cannot stay for too long. This is for ILR or indefinite leave to remain application purposes. This is where they will check everything from when you entered throughout your stay and then to when you're applying for your ILR. Please make sure that you don't stay for too long because, of course, you are here to work. If you plan to apply for ILR or indefinite leave to remain, avoid spending more than 180 days outside the UK in any 12 months. Okay, you cannot stay for more than 180 days outside the country for 1 year. All right, this could affect your eligibility to apply for indefinite leave to remain, and of course it will affect your settlement and everything. So take note of this. So this is a government website and this is about the skilled worker visa. So I just went here, skilled worker visa, taking an additional work. So here, your partner and children, this is the first one I was talking about. If you are a care worker or a senior care worker, your partner and children cannot apply to join you or stay in the UK as your dependent unless you are employed as a care worker or a senior care worker in the UK or on a skilled worker visa before 11th of March 2024, and one of the following is true. You are currently still on a skilled worker visa, you are extending your skilled worker visa with your current employer, or you are changing to a new job within the same occupation code while on a skilled worker visa. So you cannot bring dependents to the UK. They cannot stay with you in the UK. They cannot join you in the UK unless you are on the skilled worker before March 11th of March 2024, and one of the following applies. So this is very important. So this is about the partner. For people that are not care workers, these are the eligibility criteria, and for the children as well. So let's look at additional work. Taking on additional work. So if you work overtime on the job you are being sponsored for, you do not need to update the visa. So which means in the same company, you can work overtime for the company and you do not need to update the visa. And there's no limit as to how many hours overtime you can do. So if your company has lots of jobs, lots of shifts, you can take up more shifts, okay, without updating your visa. You can also work up to 20 hours a week in another job. So this is where I was talking about. Or for your own business, maybe a registered business, maybe in your husband's name, I don't know. But this is what I see, okay? As long as you are still doing the job you are being sponsored for. By the way, we're going to look up this business thing. This statement looks a bit contradictory. As long as you are still doing the job you are being sponsored for. So you must work in an eligible occupation code. You can also do unpaid voluntary work. Okay, so I will show you the eligible code, but let's finish here. If you be doing more than 20 hours a week in another job, you need to apply to update your visa so that you are being sponsored to do both jobs. Okay, and you will need to get a certificate of sponsorship from your second employer. You must include a letter with your application explaining that you want to change your current permission to stay. Okay, so at every point you need to explain your situation. You need to update your visa so that you are being sponsored to do both jobs. Okay, so if you do this, you also need to get a letter to say that, explain that you want to change your current permission to stay, not your current permission to stay, as in maybe update your visa and then change the things you're allowed to do in the UK. So this is my understanding about this. So let's take a look at the eligibility code. So if you are on this visa, these are the occupation you can do, occupation codes. When you see yes, it means that yes, you can do that job. You can work as a chief executive, and senior officer. You can work as election officers. You can do all of this. So where it becomes interesting is, let me just search. I think you can work in the higher higher education as well. So you can do higher education teaching. So that my friend was telling me about being able to lecture for 20 hours a week. So if teaching is your thing, while doing your other job, you can also work as a lecturer in the higher education setting. You can become a professor, you can be a tutor, you can be a university lecturer, or you can be a university teaching assistant, and you can see that is a yes. So this is very important. Secondary education teaching, you can also teach in the secondary school. You can be a secondary school teacher, sixth form teacher, or you can also do this. You can do this for 20 hours. And of course, a lot of you that's saying that you are not able to find a second job, why don't you consider working in any of these job roles, since you are eligible to do so? You can also become a junior school teacher or primary school teacher. Okay, so all of these are what you can do. You can work in the nursery as a preschool teacher. So all of these are what you can do. The only ones you cannot do, I think there are not a lot, but you can see them as no. You cannot be a sports player, you cannot be a coach, a sports coach. Okay, and there are so many of them. So if you want, I'll put this link on the description below on my channel, so that you're able to have a look yourself and make your decision. So you can update your visa if you change job or employer. You need to apply to update your visa. You may want to change your job and your new job is with a different employer. Your job changes to a different occupation code and you are not in a graduate training program. You leave a job that is on the immigration salary list for a job that is not on the list. Okay, these are the scenarios that you can apply to update your visa. You do not need to apply again if you stay in the same job but your job is taken off the immigration salary list. Okay, you do not need to apply. Yeah, so that's it, guys. So I've come across this where it says, can I set up a limited company while in the UK? He said the immigration rules lays out that you can set up a limited company while on tier 2 visa, as this will not necessarily affect your immigration status as long as you are not actively working in the business. The trouble with owning a limited company as a tier 2 general visa holder is if you decided to try and use this company as your sponsor, the rule states that you must not own more than 10% of the shares of the business that sponsors you unless you earn in excess of £116,000 per year. So yeah, one or more common question is that tier 2 visa can start their own business and potentially be sponsored by it. As you may imagine, the rules around self-employment are somewhat unclear. And when it comes to tier 2 visa, we know that every single visa applicant needs to have some form of sponsorship to be eligible to apply. But this can actually take various forms as far as the type of employment is concerned. I have checked most of the places where it says whether you can do a business or not. Okay, they are kind of gray. Okay, on the immigration website that we looked at, it said working on your business or working for your business, and in some other places I've checked, it said you may be able to do a business, but you must not own more than 10% of the shares of the company. And if the business is going to sponsor you, and you must show that you earn, I think, more than £165,000 a year. So it's very, very gray. And the thing with owning a business in the UK, there's a lot to it. Okay, so my advice is try to avoid anything that will affect you. Something, if you don't understand, please ask an immigration advisor. Okay, a registered immigration advisor. If you don't understand, do not put your stay in the UK at risk. Okay, do not do that. So try to avoid things that will put you at risk. Remember, immigration rules can change. Okay, like I said, I'm not an immigration advisor. I'm only telling you what I read, and I've shown you the website, the government website. So always check for guidance, always check for any updates on government website, UK government website. And of course, consult an immigration lawyer if you need any immigration advice. Okay, if you found this video very helpful, please subscribe to my channel. Okay, this is still a baby channel. I always say this. Please subscribe. Please like and share this video, and of course turn on the notification button so that when I upload a new video, you'll be the first person to see it. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.